Welcome to the round ball warm-up. This week we've got a huge guest, our first player guest, and my actually first interview with a player live. Big pressure on you, Denny. But welcome to the show, Denis Genreau from Macarthur FC. Hope you've had a wonderful week so far. Just give us some information on how the prep's been. Another huge game this weekend against Western Sydney Wanderers.
Yeah, thank you for having me. So far prep's been pretty same as usual. We played against the Wanderers already, so tactically we sort of know what to expect, and with their back five and everything. So yeah, it's been sort of business as usual, but looking forward to a big derby.
Yeah, and obviously we've got Cameron Wiper from the UK joining us once again, and this is actually a second interview with him, so bit of familiarity there. It's always good to see, but I'll leave it to you, mate.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you for coming on, Denny. It's an absolute pleasure to speak to you again. So just wondering, obviously you've played a few games now. You've already played, Western Sydney once. What have you made of the start that Macarthur's made this season so far?
I think that the first game was a really big game. First game for the club, a derby as well, and it was good to get off to the right start with a win against our rivals. But yeah, we couldn't really back it up against Central Coast. We haven't had a win yet at home, so it's been a bit of an up and down so far. I think that in terms of the players, we expect a lot from each other, and the coach expects a lot from us as well. So it's been a good start, but it hasn't been a perfect start yet. So we're looking to build on it, and I think that's pretty expected as we're all new players coming together into a new team. So it's going to take a bit of time to gel. But so far so good. We're just looking to keep improving and get points along the way.
Yeah, we've got a couple of questions from our followers and also fans of Macarthur. First of all, this one from Ivan. Has there been any overseas interest from you, I guess, since you returned from Zwolle? And is your goal, I guess, long term, ultimately or short term, ultimately to return to Europe?
I think after my year in the Netherlands, there was a bit of interest to stay in Europe. That was my goal, to stay there. Unfortunately, I still had a year left on my contract at City, and they didn't really let me, pursue my opportunities overseas. So, I sort of had to see out my contract there, and obviously the interest from Europe sort of died down because I didn't get any opportunities to play or anything. But obviously now Macarthur, great start, for me, and to join a club, it's been good. It's been good to join up with Macarthur, and the coaching staff and the players there are fantastic. So I think in the long term, for sure, I'd love to go back to Europe. For me at the moment, it's getting a consistent run of games and doing well for Macarthur in the present time.
Awesome. Cam, you can go next, mate.
Yeah, last I spoke to you, you told me about some of the influential players in the dressing room. You spoke about Mark Milligan, Federici, but now Benyat has signed, and obviously he's playing in a similar position to you, and you've been playing alongside each other. He's a European superstar. How have you found playing alongside him and learning from him?
Oh, amazing. I think the players that we have already, we spoke about, obviously Mark Milligan, Franjic, Federici, those kind of players in terms of Australian history. They've done so much for the club, for the country. And now, you have the two Spanish boys, Markel. I played with him a bit at City, and I saw his quality. But, Bernat, obviously I knew the name, but I've never really seen him play. And to play alongside him is just amazing. He's played sort of that similar role to me at the moment. And, watching him play, some of the things he does in training is just, blows your mind away. So for me to play alongside him and learn from him every day is just awesome.
Yeah, no, I think to have someone of that quality in the A-League, we haven't really seen that since, I'd say, Del Piero, personally. And I think the quality he's shown this season has been absolutely outstanding. But I guess just a question from my end. Much has been made on Macarthur's, I guess, inconsistency this season so far. And obviously the loss last week would have been, I guess, very difficult to take. How do you need to tactically adapt to this game against Western Sydney? You've beat them before, but what will it take to beat them again? They're in a pretty good run of form as well, top of the table last week. And I guess how will you approach the game this time around?
Yeah, I think we had a really good game plan round one, and I think the players, all of us, we executed it really well. To be fair, it's going to be a bit similar, I think. Watching their previous games, they haven't changed too much. There's been a few rotations that we've seen and things like that, but we've tweaked our game as well, and tactically we sort of adjusted certain things that they've brought into their game. But at the end of the day, coach is all about us and the way that we want to play the game. We're at home as well. We haven't won at home yet. Last week was a tough pill to swallow against Sydney, but yeah, we're really looking to get 3 points at home, which we haven't done yet, and that's really important for our fans and for the confidence of the team.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah.
You're one of a number of some of your teammates in the Olyroos that has been playing regularly in this A-League season. How much has been beneficial to you and some of your teammates in the Olyroos?
I think, Arnie said it, as soon as we qualified, he basically said, now's a clean slate. No one's got a contract to go to Tokyo. Sorry, I'm getting a bit distracted by the highlights.
Apologies.
No one's got a contract to go to Tokyo. So at the end of the day, it's going to be whoever's performing, whoever's got the most minutes, and whoever's doing well for their club. So I think to see the amount of young players getting an opportunity this season is awesome for that, because it brings in competition in the squad, and hopefully that makes us perform even better at the Olympics. So it's been great so far for all the young players playing, and it's whoever's going to step up at the end of the day to get on that plane to Tokyo.
Denny, much has been made of Lockie Rose, going from the NPL2 all the way to Macarthur. And I guess this also comes to the argument of NPL players getting opportunities in the A-League. Luqual has been another one of those this season who has really thrived under the Central Coast Mariners. What do you make of these NPL players getting opportunities in the A-League? And I guess how is it to be around someone like Lockie Rose having such a wonderful entrance to the A-League thus far?
I think it's awesome. Obviously we, as young players, we all went through that. I played NPL2 at Melbourne City. I played NPL under 20s at Melbourne City, and you see a lot of talent in those leagues. And, unfortunately, there hasn't been that much opportunity for young players in the NPL and to make that step up. And it is a big step up. And for Lockie Rose, to come from NPL2 to, start round one, do really well for us, and, sort of continue that. And he's sort of become a fan favourite at Campbelltown. Whenever he gets the ball, you hear the fans get around him. So it's great for him, from someone that's come from sort of nothing to being sort of a fan favourite. It's awesome for the league, and those are the kind of stories that people need to talk about and build up, and great for Australian football.
Sweet.
Awesome. Same as Luqual as well. The fans seem to love it when he comes on the field, and he brings that energy and things like that. So I think it's great to see for the league.
Awesome. Sweet.
How much have you made of some of the? Sorry, I've just lost my train of thought completely. So yeah, guys like Luqual that have they're becoming fan favourites because of their just sort of different attitude to what we used to. How much have you made of that, and how much are you enjoying seeing players like him in the league?
Yeah, 100%. I think that's what you need for Australian football. You need fans to get around it. And, in the past, there hasn't been that excitement, that energy, and fans looking forward to come to games and see young Australian players doing well. And I think that, with the likes of Luqual, Lockie Rose, people like that, people that fans can get around, that people can relate to. They come from similar areas, and I think Alu's from Goulburn in the NPL, right?
Yeah, Goulburn Valley, yeah. Yeah,
Northern Valley, and I played against them in the NPL 2 under 20s and NPL and things like that. So that's awesome stories. And even I saw something that Joey Lynch said the other day about how Alec Mills, who made his Melbourne City debut yesterday, and come up against Luqual in the NPL a few years ago. And those are the kind of stories that fans can get around, I think, and they can relate to that, and it brings so much more excitement. People will come to the games to watch people like Luqual who bring that energy and excitement.
And I guess just more based on your performances this season, you've really been a shining light in the midst of the midfield there, really cementing your spot there, and definitely a favourite of mine to lead the midfield at the Olympics, hopefully. But in terms of, I guess, approaching the Olympics, you have a training camp penciled in for March, which was announced today, or to the public at least. I guess your goals, your personal goals for the season, obviously team success is one thing, but where would you like to end up at the end of the season in terms of your development and whatnot?
Yeah, personally, I think that I haven't really had in my career like a run of games, consistent run of games where I've played a full season. I've been in and out of squads at Melbourne City, here and there. And then when I went to the Netherlands, I had 6 months where I played a lot of football and then 6 months where I didn't. And for me this season, I want to get a full season under my belt. And I think that can only come with consistent performances and keeping my body fresh and fit. So, yeah, I think that's my main motivation, to try and play every single minute this season. And then at the end of the day, good performances hopefully come with results for the team. And as a club, I think our goal is finals football and see where that goes. And then obviously, you got a lot of exciting things coming up with the national team set up, obviously the Olympics and things like that. So goal for me as well is to get on the plane to Tokyo, do well at the Olympics, and then see what happens after that. But a lot of exciting things coming up, and really looking forward to it.
I've just got one slightly controversial question. You were involved in an incident with Alex Rufer that saw him sent off in the game against Wellington. What did you make of that, and what was your immediate reaction to the red card?
Yeah, obviously it brought up a lot of controversy, and I remember in the moment I sort of made a tackle on Rufer, was going for the ball, and then sort of went to go for the counter attack and sort of just felt my knee, a kick to my knee, and initially it hurt. Had a big bruise on it and everything, was sore for the next few days. But I didn't. Looking back on it, when you look at it, 20, 30 times in slow motion, anyone can make anything out of it. It's hard for referees in the moment to make a decision, and the more you see it, the more people can come up with different things and all that. But at the end of the day, it's the referee's decision, and he's got VAR as well that can back him up. So, I hate to see a player get suspended for 2-3 weeks when it's not deserved. So I think in the end, they changed the decision and gave him only 1 week, which is good because you don't want to see colleagues missing out on football for something that's not fair. So, I think things turned out the way it is.
And I guess I'll just finish, unless Cameron, you have a couple more. But you're in a very unique position, obviously playing for an expansion side the first year of this club's existence. What has it like been, the community environment around Campbelltown, and obviously the store opened last week? It's a really unique sort of atmosphere within the A-League at the moment. I guess for yourself, like, is it eye-opening? Like, what have you found playing for an expansion side within the Australian competition?
Yeah, I think it's super exciting. The more clubs that we have in the A-League, the better. The more football we're going to have, the more games we're going to have, the more opportunities for players to play. So I think the more clubs, the better. And to join an expansion club, no one really knows what to expect, And they're trying to do things differently. I think that's really important. That from the get-go, I think they've said that we don't want to be like every other A-League club. We want to bring something new to the table, something exciting. Obviously, I think we're the only club that's opened up a store like that, and that was awesome to see all the fans turn out last week for that. I think it's just Campbelltown Stadium's a fantastic stadium. The ground's perfect to play football on, and to see the fans turn out, ring their cowbells, that's something different as well. But obviously, I think it upsets a few people, but it's different.
I love it. Bring on the cowbells.
Yeah. But it's something different that no other club has, and I think that's an exciting thing. And it's just everything that's new, everything that's different is good for the league, I think.
So awesome.
So I take it you're a fan of the cowbells then?
Well, as a player, I don't mind them. I know that they're for us, but I can understand why it's really frustrating for opposition fans that want to come watch a game of football and that's all they can hear. But I like it as players. I think it sort of adds a bit of momentum.
Yeah, sweet. And you can only imagine the reaction from, I guess, well, the Twitter's been on fire with that. So plenty more to come. But I guess we'll end it there. Thank you so much, Denny, for joining us. Best of luck for this weekend against Western Sydney Wanderers at home this time. So, and with the increased capacity, that should be hopefully Campbelltown Stadium is rocking with the cowbells. Plenty of ringing around the stadium. But best of luck once again. Thank you for joining us on this Thursday evening, and hope all goes well.
Thank you very much, guys, for having me. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
That was Denis Genreau, Very impressive. He has been this season. You can't deny that. There's no bias there. He's been absolutely outstanding. So, yeah, he's been really good. So yeah, pretty much we're going to move on to our Macarthur versus Western Sydney preview. Obviously, we've already played the footage from that game, but all things taken into account, Macarthur in inconsistent form. Western Sydney got a 1-1 draw against Newcastle, which they probably should have buried them in the first half. What do you make of this game? It's quite a bit of storylines coming into this game.
Yeah, so it's another derby, the second game that they played, and I think Denis shows that Macarthur are quite confident about this game. They've got a plan like they did the first time, and they've done it once before. It will be a little bit different this time. Western Sydney will know what's coming to them. But yeah, it should be a really fantastic game. I'm very excited for this one. I think this is the best game to look forward to in the coming match week that is so unbelievably busy.
Yeah, no, I mean they've definitely been very busy, Macarthur. They've played plenty of games, got plenty of experience under the belt. Hopefully, with Benyat and Susaeta coming to full fitness, we should expect more from them this season, more from them in the coming weeks. Susaeta is really coming into his own a little bit. Got that goal against Wellington a couple of weeks ago, but that game last week, it really went all downhill from Milligan's red card. So, if their disciplinary record can be pretty positive in this game, hopefully not too much fiery tension coming into this game. You'd hope, but you never know what can happen. There's stranger things have happened within the A-League. So in terms of what's going to happen, I do think that Macarthur at home should be able to win this once again. They know how to find cracks within Western Sydney's midfield and defense. Obviously, the free kick was a free kick, deflected, but certainly the game to watch. So if you're going to watch an A-League game this weekend, it'd definitely be this one.
Yeah, and I think Macarthur are going to make themselves hard to beat again. They kept a clean sheet against them. That was what they did so well under pressure, particularly Federici, who was again outstanding against Sydney as well. It's going to be, another test for them. They've got Abini is, fully back to full fitness. He's probably going to start like he did against Newcastle Jets. So I think from their perspective, they're looking to defend and hopefully take something out of the game like they did in the first match.
Yeah, and I think this is the game to watch. This is going to be a very well-supported game, I think, at the ground as well, hopefully with the new restrictions being eased in Sydney this week. Melbourne Victory playing Brisbane Roar, the second leg. We've actually got a couple second legs. All the games we're previewing this week are the second time these sides are playing against each other. The Brisbane Roar, obviously, in pretty good form, winning against Adelaide United last week, as we will show their highlights right now. What do you make of Brisbane's pretty surprising form? They also re-signed Tom Aldred and Jay O'Shea today on contract extensions.
Yeah, first and foremost, the contract extensions are huge. Tom Aldred and Jay O'Shea have been two of the most underrated players for me in the A-League over the last year or so since they've been here. I think they were one of Robbie Fowler's lasting legacies, really. They were two really smart signings that have quietly gone about their business and just been impressive and consistent week in, week out. So it's huge for the club to sign them in again. I think particularly in Jay O'Shea's case, he showed his quality against Adelaide, and it was a superb finish. I think we covered this on the Monday pod as well. But Brisbane have been fantastic for more money this season. One of the more impressive sides that has been able to rack up wins consistently now. And, they're facing Melbourne Victory, who are coming off a couple of unbeaten games following the pretty much a disaster against Adelaide, but they've responded quite well. So it should be a really good contest. These are two clubs that are, hitting a bit of form at the moment.
Yeah, both sides are hitting a bit of form. I mean, Victory, I'd say, pretty fortunate not to lose against West United. I'll admit that there. I just feel that, Brisbane's have such a dynamic attack. They've got Winslow Halls up top. Top boy! He always comes in and has a waves high. We will be covering the Adelaide United game quickly. Just give us a bit of a chance. But yeah, I do think that Melbourne Victory are coming into this game with a bit of pressure on them. They lost this game last time 3-1. Had a fantastic first half, playing outstanding football. Passes were well weighted. But much has been made of, I guess, Marco Rojas' performance this season as well. Robbie Cruz is going to come in. McManaman's in full training now, just dead only training by himself. So without those two, it could be very difficult for Victory to get the victory. Ironically speaking, I just don't feel that Louis Laurie Latanzio will be able to lead the line, and Ben Falami has not been that impressive in his cameos he's had this season. So what to expect from this game, especially at Dolphin Stadium? Brisbane Roar have played well despite that loss against Melbourne City a couple weeks ago to start the season. This goal from Jay O'Shea was an absolute masterclass as well. So they're able to keep their form of Wenzel Hall's able to keep firing. I won't be surprised if Brisbane nab a victory here.
I think particularly Wenzel Halls is a key player for Brisbane. He's been outstanding this season. What impressed me from the game against Adelaide is that he's not like a typical number 9 striker that stays in the penalty area and is target man on the shoulder, etc. He's running about all over the final third. He comes deep, he comes wide to create chances for his team, and he's certainly the main attacking threat that Brisbane have, and he's someone that's going to cause Melbourne Victory a lot of headaches, as we saw. It's similar sort of play to Mo Toure when he terrorised the Victory defence in the Adelaide game.
Yeah, I think really Adelaide at home. Sorry, have been very good. We'll talk about that in a couple minutes. But I think Perth have just. I mean, they've been fortunate in many areas. I just feel that Brisbane will probably have the upper hand. They're in better form as well. I think, realistically speaking, look at the two sides. Victory were lucky to get that win against Perth. Pretty lucky to get a draw against Western United. I mean, could be argued against, but it's a matter of seeing who will prevail. Coming into this next game, your Perth Glory coming up against Adelaide United. Big one for Adelaide United at home against the Perth Glory. Now, the Glory won against Melbourne City. Melbourne City, to be fair, have been quite dire in recent games. But with Adelaide raring to go, Carviet during the week has said that Tommy Urich will be starting, Javi Lopez to be on the bench and will come on. What to make of this big fixture between the two sides? Second leg, by the way.
Yeah, it's Adelaide have got a big point to prove. They were completely demolished and taken apart by the Perth Glory attack in the first game. So the defence has certainly got something to prove. Urich was fairly anonymous in that game as well. So if he's starting, then he's going to need to pull his weight in this game as well, and actually give the Perth Glory defence that have been, relatively unstable in the few games so far. If he starts, using his strength to physically beat the Perth defenders, it will be a much more different game, I'd imagine. And of course, it's being played in Adelaide now this time. So completely different look to the game. Perth traditionally, their press in the home games is much greater. They're in the faces of opposition at home, whereas away they seem to just sort of sit off and try and stop teams going forward by just getting men back behind the ball and then look to break on the counter-attack. And I think my concern is if you're trying to do that against Adelaide, that are such a good attacking side, that they will be able to pick you off. And I think if you look at the Melbourne Victory game, Melbourne Victory had a similar sort of style where they sat back and let Adelaide attack them.
And Motore pushed Dylan Ryan off, and that proves that no matter how you structure against Adelaide, they've got a lot of attacking firepower. Sorry to interrupt once again, but their defense for me, as I said on Monday, it's a little bit of a worry for me. I mean, their wing backs have been okay in segments of the season. I think Jakobsen's pretty solid. I think Elsie made a pretty glaring mistake on the weekend against Brisbane. And I think depth-wise, obviously Ryan Strain's now out for a couple of weeks again. So for Adelaide to keep in mind, both of these sides have a lot of attacking firepower. Diego Castro's back, Fornaroli's firing. Economides obviously got a couple weeks, but you got Andy Keogh with his shaved head now. So when you've got a bald Andy Keogh, you've got something to come up against. So I think it's a matter of Adelaide perhaps changing their structure a little bit. I mean, home and away forms one thing, but I obviously would like to see someone like Yara Debutu or George Timotheo get some starts and hopefully build their momentum, because we haven't seen too much tactical change in the defense and midfield areas. They've also in talks with a foreigner this week, so apparently it's a really good one according to Val.
Yeah, and obviously we've mentioned this a couple of times already that Adelaide had promised a James Charisi replacement, so it would be good to see who that is. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks before the transfer window, and also. Just going back to Perth, Richie Garcia said that Andy Keogh will start in this game, having missed the last game and come off early against Western United. So with Castro back as well, it's going to be really interesting to see the likes of Fornaroli, Keogh and Castro all playing in the same side. And also with, you've got two of the league's top scorers in Armiento and D'Agostino that have also got cases to be in that team.
It keeps on going. The amount of attacking fight, even Daniel Steins to an extent.
Steins has been impressive and made a very good impression in his appearance against Melbourne City as well. So you've got, I think it's 6 players there vying for about 4 spots. How are you going to fit them all?
Yeah, I think really it's Armiento's coming up against Adelaide, in Adelaide. Again, his former side, and he's someone who got let go by Adelaide. They've got a large influx of youth talent, and he's one who I guess got picked off and signed with Perth and has really flourished this season. Potentially, I think he's eligible for Ollie Roos, potentially an Ollie Roos player this season in the upcoming camp. So he's only 21 years old. So if Perth are able to blood these youngsters, they have, especially in the attacking frame of the pitch. Expect firepower. I wouldn't say a 5-3 again. I think that's a bit audacious, but you never know what can happen from a Perth Glory. They've had a 5-4 thrillers, 5-3s, 2-1s, 3-1s. Plenty to come, but I do expect that we'll see Adelaide hopefully take the victory here to extend their positive run of form at home. Moving on to something a little bit different. Sorry?
I think we can rule out a 0-0 in that game, considering both attacks are so good and the defense.
Knowing my luck, though, I did predict that victory versus Western United will be over 2.5 goals. That was a 0-0. So can't say I was too thrilled, but maybe it's just my bad. Maybe I'm just like a bad omen. Whenever I predict things, they go the other way. But who knows? But today the FFA released. Hang on, let me change that. Much better. The FA released their domestic match calendar for the upcoming year, 2021. Obviously, this was finalized, I guess, today, and we're going to show you the whole graphic now. It's going to be very hard to see the microscopic sort of fixture. Let me just ensure this is done correctly. So this is pretty big. This is a very big revelation within Australian football. We now have this monstropic calendar. So I'll actually zoom in. So January's already been, so that's not really relevant, and you can see the key up there. February, there's a registration window, obviously from the 16th, as that's when the window essentially opens, the transfer window. What interested me was the Ollie Roos preparation here in March. So we'll be seeing an Ollie Roos camp from a Monday to Tuesday. So I'm assuming that will mean that a lot of players will miss fixtures for their A-League sides, and obviously to get players to come back to Australia would be an absolute nightmare for the overseas talents. I guess here there's some more Ollie Roos preparation going into the Tokyo games, and what interests me here is that if I can move my mouse, they might have gone back. My apologies. What's interesting here is that you go from the Ollie Roos preparation in May. Copa America starts here. Does that mean that perhaps Arnie will be taking an Ollie Ruse squad to the Copa America, or partly Ollie Ruse?
I mean, it's what baffles me about this is it's about a month before the Olympics. So obviously the Olympics is the main thing that the Oilers will be competing in over the summer, and that's their big focus. And no one said anything about the Copa America. I'd imagine the senior Socceroos to go to the Copa America, it being such. Was everything gone?
Appears it. Oh no, you were just cutting out for a bit, but I think we're okay.
Anyways, so because the Copa America is such a prestigious competition, this is the first time that Australia have competed in it. It's quite a landmark occasion. I don't understand why you would send a youth team to a senior competition of this standard.
Oh no! Japan sent their youth side to the Copa America when they were in it. I think 2 years ago. I think Korea or Japan, can't remember, but they did send their youth sides. Yeah.
Well, fair enough then. But I think it would be more to do with the Olympics, although I don't understand why it's so early. My only guess is Graham Arnold might be wanting to have a look at, because obviously he'll be taking the squad at the Olympics. He will want to have a look at the squad before the Olympics, and that may clash with the Copa America schedule if they have it directly before the Olympics. I can see there's like 10 days between the end of Copa America and the beginning of the Olympics, during which I'd imagine they'd want some time together, but it'll be difficult if they have to quarantine and stuff like that between different countries. So if they're having a camp, that might be the reason why it is so early ahead of the Olympics, and less to do with the Copa America, because I think it also says that there is a Socceroos camp, or at least for it before then. It's
because there's
on the calendar that the Socceroos have something planned for that.
Yeah, because it's interesting, because they might think that the Asian qualifiers, having been pushed back due to coronavirus, that they might align exactly with the Copa America, and that might be an issue for Australia to outline. But the glaring sort of omission here is the A-League. There's no A-League here. TV rights deals coming up. That's pretty much the explanation for it. From what I gauge, some more qualifiers here. A lot of women's qualifiers as well. FA Cup live draw being here. So the round of 32 has been penciled in for August, September. So pretty much Australian footballers in professional clubs are going to have a fucking horrible schedule. Because they finish the season in July. They have the round of 32 in August, September, then October, then November is the final. You got a month until the A-League starts. They're going to be literally full-time footballers. So it's going to be a very interesting thing to see what will happen over the course of the. Any final thoughts on this mammoth calendar, which is, I'm going to read this tonight.
Yeah, it's good to see that they're actually having some sort of organisation in there. This isn't like we find out, a couple of weeks beforehand what's happening. This is something that we've got a plan for next 12 months or so. And I think, what you were saying about how the players are playing so often and it's like they're being full-time professionals. Well, should they be full-time professionals? They really should be. If we want.
No, as in, like, I just feel like playing a cup competition every 3 weeks following the season is something that I don't think is beneficial for these footballers to do. I don't see why not. I don't see why they can't have the FFA Cup going from April onwards. That's something that I just from the FFA's perspective. Preliminary rounds can be completed especially with the NPL clubs coming in later. I know most state league clubs are going to start training in a couple of weeks, from May even. Why are we starting the FFA Cup from July? That's my question.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit strange. It could be something to do with trying to plug the football gap as such between
Well, I mean, to what extent are you gonna
the end of season is so long, and they might. We don't know when the season is going to start. Yes, the broadcast deal is the main reason why it's been omitted from the calendar, but there's all this talk about winter move. So if I have that little bit of football in the winter, just at the end there, firstly the quality of the football is going to be better because it's going to be less hot.
The FA Cup is now a spring competition. It's not a winter competition. It's a spring competition now. Actually, no, sorry. It's like, actually, no, to be fair, it's like it used to be, but it's the same place. But regardless, you have the A-League starting in December now. You know, the clubs are always in pre-season when the FFA Cup starts, and that's something that's always happened. To what extent are you going to potentially hinder the Australian professional clubs' performance? Because these games are often high intensity, injuries can arise. What's the point of these guys essentially not having a break at all? And I think that's something that must be addressed, because the clubs, the competition will finish the regular season in late May. You maybe have a month break, and for the championship side, you essentially have a month break, and you would go straight into a FFA Cup game.
Yeah, and also
I don't understand that. I'm sorry, I don't.
Also, the Ollie Roos, of which a huge amount of them will come from the A-League, I'd imagine.
Yeah, we'll go to the Olympics. Yeah.
We'll be going to the Olympics, and they'll be playing another competitive tournament in which they have a lot of games in a short space of time, which is before the season something they weren't used to in this country. So it's going to be difficult for them in particular. I will accept that they are going to struggle over the winter.
I mean, I think NPL clubs are now more at an advantage when it comes to the FFA Cup, more than ever before. But I think in order to sort of balance that gap effectively, by having this tournament earlier in the season, it would be better. Look, you're going into April. If you were to start in April, the NPL starts in late February, early March, maybe at the first round in April or May even. That would be better for the competition as a whole, because I do think Australian football needs some breathing space. We do need an off-season. We don't need all-round football 24/7, 365 days a year. I obviously am a huge advocate of the winter season and the innovations that have been instituted by James Johnson and everyone there at the FFA. I just feel that the timing of the FFA Cup could have maybe been adjusted a little bit more. I mean, with the zones, that's going to be intense rivalries that will be relished throughout the whole of the Australian footballing community. Potentially Melbourne Victory playing a South Melbourne, or Melbourne Victory playing a Bentley Greens. Like, that's going to promote competitive tension, which is really important. I just feel that this is a fantastic initiative. Let's not get it twisted. Like, this calendar is nothing like we've ever seen before in Australian football. It proves the organization is there. It's wonderful to see. My only doubts is, number one, the A-League having, number one, a broadcast deal in place so we can actually make adjustments to the calendar. Because what if the new broadcaster wants to have or the Fox Sports want to have the A-League start in October and go until June? FFA have pulling power, but how much pulling power do they have in these negotiations when it comes to aligning with their football vision? So there's something that must be addressed, but let's not get it twisted. Outstanding job, FA. Everyone there done a fantastic job. Oh, sweet. So you got nothing to say, but the last thing, the last thing we have to say, Dario Vujacic. He signed with a new club. Guess which club it is, though. It's not an A-League club, not even an NPL 1 club. It's an NPL 2 club. He signed with the Moreland Zebras. Yes, that's right. The Moreland Zebras, an NPL 2 Victoria. If you don't remember, these guys made the FFA Cup quarterfinals, I believe, in 2019. Look, he looks so happy, man, and that's good to see. Happy Dario Vujacic is a happy NPL 2. This is a very important signing for the NPL as well really continues the run of positive signings, as well as the fact that Queensland NPL, I think Olympic FC has signed Isaka Cernak and Zach Anderson as well from overseas clubs. This is positive, and it may perhaps close the gap between the NPL and the A-League.
Yeah, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but Moreland were one of the clubs that is part of the AFC, I think. So
that'd be right.
Might be looking towards that as well, getting members on board to prove that they can be one of the clubs that is selected for the second division if and when that comes.
I just think it's an interesting thing. Like, you look at the NPL as a whole, I'm not sure if you follow it too much. I mean, I'm trying to get into it. I think Vince Lee has signed with Dandenong City. Sorry, Vince Lee has signed with Altona. Tarek Elrich has signed with I think Mount Druitt Town Rages in the NPL as well. So I think you're seeing a lot of A-League talent play in the NPL, for reasons, financial or professional, non-professionals, semi-professional, sorry. Like even Kenny Achu signing with Bentley Greens, that has been reported this week that he's made the switch there. Jeremy Brocky was signed for Bentley for a couple of weeks, and until obviously his body reportedly broke down and unable to sustain his run of form even in a semi-professional environment. But I think, even Ben Carrigan, I could go on and on, but I could go on for years. But really, I think this upcoming season of the NPL is going to be really pivotal to the potential national second division that's going to come in possibly next year, the end of next year, in 2 years. So I think it's really a matter of time before we see the gap close, and that's obviously can lead to a possible promotion relegation.
Yeah, it's definitely quite an exciting time. It is, I think, with the some of the A-League sides getting involved. Yeah, it's at the end of their careers, but these are experienced players, most of them, and they have contacts within the clubs. If you're an A-League club, and so Vinny Leah played for Adelaide, Perth, and Wellington Phoenix.
And Victory,
if you're an A-League club, or indeed Vinny Leah, you see a player that you like that you're coming up against in a couple of weeks. This is like a ready-made scouting network for the A-League clubs to have eyes on the ground in NPL to see which players. And
you've now got streaming. You've now got streaming there, which makes it all the more easier.
Yeah.
So
it's definitely a good thing that we're seeing these experienced professionals jump down to the NPL even in the tail end of their career, because I'm sure in a few years we'll have stories of players that have been handpicked by ex-A-League players from the NPL to the A-League.
Yeah, it's only a positive thing, and I think the more money these NPL clubs plunge into their academies and senior playing squad, the better it is for the whole of football, and hopefully the flow and effects will come. Big weekend of A-League football coming up, and we've previewed a bit of it, the main fixtures this week, as we will continue to do in a couple of weeks. No show on Monday due to the fixture congestion that the A-League has brought upon us, with a lot of fixture reshuffling this week announced today as well. As we did mention, obviously, Melbourne getting plenty of games next weekend. Great for the pitch and great for me as well. So, good luck to all the players playing this weekend, especially to Denis Genreau. Hopefully he gets a goal and just, does a bit of a ramble project, a shout out, on the TV. Don't think that'll happen. No Aluqual business again. But thanks, Cameron, for once again joining us. You've been fantastic. And check out his article on the VAR within football. We will retweet that tonight or tomorrow, and definitely have a read at that. His first article on the Raw, so location in Australia. Oh, you've got 9 comments on that as well. That's pretty good, actually.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to write, actually. I just kind of found myself at a loose end, having just watched the Man United Southampton game and Newcastle Palace. I was just sat there and watch the BT Sport coverage of the analysis afterwards, where they go through the refereeing decision for the Bednarak sending off and David Luiz as well. I'm just sat there thinking, this is just completely wrong. They brought in Peter Walton, former Premier League referee, who actually goes and defends Mike Dean for the sending off, saying that he got pigeonholed into doing it. And then we've also got all of this going on with the Dylan Pieris offside, which for all money looks onside. And then there's also Che Adams in the Man United Southampton game.
Yeah,
there's still when all this plays, they've got the lines.
Was it his arm? Was it his arm? Was
onside? Yeah, his arm, which he can't score a goal with, is the only part of his body past that line, and they've literally clarified that it's not offside, and yet still VAR decide it's offside. So that was a big whole rant for another day. But the article is my thought on it, and what could be done potentially. It's a left field idea of what could be done to fix it.
Yeah, definitely check that out in the coming weeks. It should be a lot of fun. But we'll bring you some more guests. We'll give you more of whatever you want. Thanks for the support. We're growing each week, legitimately. That's just not something I'm just saying. It's a blanket statement. But seriously, the support has been unreal. We'll definitely bring you as much as we can in the coming weeks. But yeah, look, it's been a wonderful week in Australian football with Matt Ryan to possibly make his Arsenal debut on the weekend as well. So plenty of optimism. The Mariners are winning. That's brilliant. So we'll take that in our stride and move on to the next round of the A-League. Thank you very much and good night.